The Champions League for Celtic, it seems so far away now that we're discussing the Champions League. It seems so far away, and it's like most people have forgotten and moved on about it, and most people can't be asked with the Feyenoord game.
Forgotten or trying to black it out.
Or trying to black it out. And that is, I think that Lazio game was probably the most angry I was after a Champions League game for Celtic, primarily because Lazio were crap. But I'll tell you why I was so angry about it, because they got me again. Celtic got me. They got me again. We won the league last year, and we're all at Celtic Park. We're all cheering, and they play the Champions League music, and the crowd go nuts. So they're geeing you up for the Champions League months in advance, as if this is the thing. Look what we've won. We've won the league, and that gets us into the Champions League. Then they go into summer, they sign all these players, and we sign. No. Speaking of individuals here, but take for example, take Kwon, right? You sign Kwon,
5-year deal.
5-year deal. Hashtag welcome Kwon. We do the photo shoot. We do the interview with Kwon. We do the interview with the manager.
They did a competition for a signed
we
shirt.
Do the competition.
Did you get that email?
They do a competition for a signed shirt. They do the hashtags. They do the graphics. You think we're onto something here. This guy's been treated like a major signing, and it was the same with all the signings. Then they sell the 3-match package. Then it's all the pattern about this is where Celtic belong. This is where we want to be. It's good to be back at this stage. Bollocks. The lot of it was bollocks. Yeah. Meanwhile, in Celtic Park, they're thinking, fuck, sold that to the mugs again. They believe it. Yeah. The Celtic board are, from me, from this time, I genuinely feel that they don't care about the Champions League. You know, sometimes you walk by a chippy and it'll be like that. Chip Shop of the Year 2016, and you don't know anything about that. It's just a badge to put on the front of the chip shop to sling out more fish. That's kind of what the Champions League is to Celtic. Champions League club, these years in a row. Aye, but what did you do?
There actually is one in Clydebank. I won't name it, but it's a boat. That until recently had that on the side of it. It was Chip Shop of the Year, and then like that big massive letters. Then you look closer, it's runner up. Then even smaller, it's 2003. Right, okay.
Not only can we hardly win a game in the Champions League, but all the stuff that comes before it, the preparation the board need, and I hate, see this phrase, the board. Honestly, I wish I knew more about the inner work. I wish there was like Celtic produced a structure that had like Dermot Desmond up here, and then Michael Nicholson here, and then off the him there's wee shoot, and then this is responsible, because the board bad is becoming like that scene out of Family Guy where Lois Griffin just stands in front of the thing and goes 9/11, and everyone 9/11 right. was bad, right?
Yeah.
But so I've got nothing better to say, but the board don't put in the requisite work. They don't give the manager the tools to compete in this thing. So if you're not taking it seriously, don't trick us into taking it seriously. And that was my problem. We took it seriously. We believed Celtic when they did all that, when they signed all these crap players that they're never going to make an impact in the Champions League. We believed them, we bought the package, we bought the strips, we believed that Celtic were going to try and do something, and then one tournament gone, and you think, fucking, they've fooled us again. They've pulled that same trick 2 years in a row.
Again? I know.
And all the stuff that Ange was talking about, I don't think Ange was lying, right? But when you look at Ange saying, we're gearing towards the Champions League, we need to build on this, the idea is we sell players at a higher level, which allows us to fund purchases at a higher level, which allows us to better be cope for the Champions League because the talent's there. And that just never happened either. That was last year's AGM. Ange said that we need to sell high so we can buy high, so we can increase the talent, so we can make a fist of the Champions League. That was just binned.
We kind of sold the players, but we just didn't brought any in.
We just didn't bother buying them. And I just feel like totally taking the piss out of with Celtic as far as the Champions League. I just feel totally taking the piss out of. And honestly, I'm verging on, if you're not going to be a Champions League club, Celtic, right? And that is to say you're going to go into the Champions League, but you're not actually trying to not win it. You're not actually trying to progress in it, because that there doesn't look like a team that was. And I know I've spoke for a long time. You might as well become something else. You might as well use all that money and give half of it to the charity foundation. I'm not being twee, but we're not using the money for anything else. So we might as well go and do some fucking good with it, because we might as well make a name for ourselves on the world stage, being more charitable, being more community focused, being more something else, because we are not a club, not a business that's trying to win football matches in the Champions League. It's a piss take.
For MD that wants to hear an astonishing rant on it, No, I used to see when somebody phones and somebody's shouting down the phone line, and you just put the phone down. You go, aye. That was me recording with Stephen after the game. He just went off on one, and I was just yes, agreeing with everything he said. He just went off. It was beautiful.
This is our match reaction to the Lazio game. Immediately after, it was a 45-minute astonishing rant, as both the tabloids and the Melly have dubbed it.
I enjoyed it, thought it was cathartic. Then as soon as we stopped recording, I remembered what Celtic had done, and I was just raging again. I keep saying it, but it's unacceptable. For Celtic to be operating, in fact, for Celtic not to be operating at this level, it is just pure neglect. Celtic are a football club. Their aim is to win trophies and get into the Champions League. But that's where the aim stops. That is where the aim stops. And that buck stops with the board. They have no ambition at this club. They just want to win the league, and it's not good enough for us as fans. I grew up Celtic in Europe. They don't care about that. Or if they do, they're doing a really, really bad job. So which is it? You don't care about Europe, or you're doing a really bad job? Either way, it's not good enough.
It's the cliches that get me, and this has been a podcast about cliches, I suppose. So this is a good place to sort of bring it to. But it's all the marketing crap you get. Oh, these famous European nights under Celtic lights at Parkhead. It's not a thing.
No,
it's not. It's
been a thing for a decade.
There's people there like I've got a nephew. He loves going to Celtic. Goes every week. He's not seen Celtic. He's not been alive on one of these games. But he can rhyme off every Celtic player in the world, and he loves Joe Hart and all that. But he's never been alive to see any of this. So it's all just marketing crap that is shoved out. And it's all a bauble that Celtic like to hang on, and I'm sure they get invited to nice dinners and they go all around the world and yada yada yada. But as a serious club trying to do anything at all of note in this tournament, for me, the evidence so far just points to they are just no interested. They want to beat Rangers, win the league by a point, collect that Champions League money, and do fuck knows what, buy far too many players with it.
Well, far too many players. You can never have too many good players. Yes, you can. Yes, you can, Celtic. You can never have too many players rather than good players. Look, Melly's right. I did have a bit of a tirade about it after the game, Lazio game, so I'm not going to go fully back into it. Don't have much more to add to what I said that night. But on the board thing, I think you're right to say that it's not worth anything to just say, oh, it's the board. The board are crap, right? I think it's our responsibility to explain why you think that, and you've done a very good job of it there. You're welcome. And what I said on that podcast was that I boiled it down to an admittedly, possibly just childlike oversimplification of it. What I want my board of the club I support to be is to get the best players that we can afford on the pitch so we can enjoy the football and be as good as we possibly can at the highest level possible. Not the highest level, but the highest level possible for a club like Celtic. Are they doing that?
No.
Are they achieving that? Categorically, no. So that's my issue with the board, among many other things, but I have boiled it down to the very, very simple fact that if that is their primary or their main function as a board is to get the best football team that we can possibly afford on the pitch, they're failing at that. Is Yang the best right? Again, I don't like focusing too much on him, but he's the example of the week because of that performance. Is Yang the best right winger that Celtic can afford in the world? No. I'll wait. I'll leave a couple of seconds there for the viewers to say yes. It must be. No, he's not, and that goes for a number of positions. Greg Taylor is not the best left back that Celtic can afford, and I'm not saying spend 15 million on a left back, but is he the best that we can afford within the structure that we can't necessarily move from, that will keep us as a solvent business and all that? Is Greg Taylor the best? No, he's not. So you can make a number of these examples, but it is basically just not true across the board. So for that very, very admittedly overly simplified reason, the board aren't doing their job. And the reason that it sticks them across so much this season is because there was no qualification. No, everyone knew we were qualifying for the Champions League from about, let's be generous, April onwards or something like that. So if Ange left in the very end, or very beginning of June, but there's no way that was a surprise.
No.
That would have been happening for weeks. So even at that, even if we give them to the absolute last minute, so the second Ange walks out the door and signs for Spurs, that's when your preparation kicks into gear. It's not, but I'm giving them the most rope here. What happened between that day in June and the first group stage game in August. What happened in between those to prove that we are geared towards being not only a Champions League club, but not a laughingstock in the Champions League? What did you do? What did you put in place in those weeks and months, given that it's your only job, it's your primary function to drive this club towards the Champions League, because that's all you talk about, as you've already described? What did you do? What were the plans put in place? What was achieved and what was failed? Because to me, it seems like achieved nothing, failed everything, to be honest.
It's like, on you go, Millie.
Well, I was going to say, do you think when Ange Postecoglou walked out and Brendan Rodgers came in, the recruitment team, while they play slightly different styles of football, would have went, see all these guys, bin them, and then we'll find new ones for Brendan Rodgers? No, this is probably what Ange would have got served up as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, and if you give Ange that, well, he had Celtic, he was gunning for this Champions League, he wanted another attempt at it. The board had no reason not to give him the funds, no reason. What reason do you not have to give it to Brendan Rodgers? He's probably a manager of a bigger reputation coming back to the club. Maybe not as good a manager, but if this is what you're going to serve Ange Postecoglou and what you've served Brendan Rodgers, how's any manager going to progress Celtic?
And where's the vision? That's what you want to know. Where's the vision? And is it any wonder that players and managers come to Celtic for 2 years and feel like we've done it? Because there's no vision for Celtic. There's no vision from this board. I feel really let down. I feel that I've been ripped off. Do you know what I feel like? You know how every Christmas, these winter wonderlands spring up, and then inevitably there's a news story about one that's absolutely terrible, and it's a donkey in a car park. But everyone's already paid their £500 to go, and they go through the curtain, and there's a donkey in a car park with a couple of pallets and Santa sitting on the pallets. That's kind of what I feel like the Champions League is for Celtic. We all get hyped about it. We all buy our tickets to Champions League Wonderland, and we go, it's a fucking donkey in a car park. That's what the Champions League is for Celtic. And what annoys me the most is they can't even begin to put this wrong right until next August. So we have to win the league first and then get into the Champions League next August, and then we'll sign a couple of players, and then I'll get all hyped about it, and then Lord knows it will probably be exactly the same.